Hello, welcome to my channel. I am some gamer chick, and I know this video format is quite different. I thought you guys would rather see a couple of cheetahs running around on Planet Zoo than look at my ugly mug. But hey, if you like it, let me know. Now, to get into the meat and potatoes of the video, why I've fallen out of love with the Anita Blake books. So, recently I've kind of noticed a trend. On my last Laurel K. Hamilton video, it tends to actually get consistent views. It'll get 1 or 2 views every once in a while, at least a couple times a week. But the problem is, nobody really watches more than the first few minutes. Now, I know my audio is terrible. It's an unscripted, unedited. I was all over the place, and I started the video with a little promotion for my brother's poetry book. By the way, I will leave a link in the description. Go ahead and check it out and support a Marine Corps vet. Back to the point. I'm lazy with my video editing. What can I say? I put all my editing energy into editing my own writing, so those are not the slog to read that PC Cast books are. So far, those sales are doing absolutely abysmal, because when it comes to advertising, I suck worse than Edward Cullen does at being a vampire. Now, I'm making this video because I noticed that my last Laurel K. Hamilton video gets consistent views. It's normally on the day she posts something on Facebook. Weird, but she did screenshot one of my tweets at her and posted it on Facebook with the intention of trying to make me look stupid. It's not my fault her world building leaves me asking, was Anita bi before or after Jean-Claude put the vampire marks on her? Since that video is the only one that gets consistent views and the retention rate is lower than the attention span of an ADHD squirrel that got into a bag of sugar, I've decided to make this video in the hopes that people will pay attention long enough to see why I have fallen out of love with the Anita Blake series. So let's go to the beginning. Guilty Pleasures, the first book in the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, was released in 1993. I was 3 at this time and didn't read it until about 2008 when a friend suggested it to me. This was during the height of the Twilight craze, and PC Cast was writing and releasing the House of Night books with her daughter, Kristen. All of which I read and enjoyed. What can I say? I was young and stupid and starved after finishing the Wheel of Time books that were released at the time. I loved Guilty Pleasures and quickly devoured the next books in the series until there was no more to devour. I even ventured into the Meredith Gentry books. They were good, but didn't quite captivate me the way that the Anita Blake books did. I was a tomboy and rejected everything girly. Anita was very relatable to me, and it was nice to know that I didn't have to be the girly girl a lot of people wanted me to be. A lot of the books I was reading at the time had female characters that were way more girly than I was. My absolute favorite book in this series was Obsidian Butterfly. Edward has always been my favorite character, and it was awesome to see his home, and the main mystery of the book was really cool. But then tragedy struck the series, and Laurel K. Hamilton took a way out of left turn, making Anita Blake into a succubus. Now, I have little room to talk here. One of the main characters in Dampier Sins is a gay hermaphrodite incubus. I love Kage and all his scrawny, sugary, addicted weirdness, but throughout the Anita Blake series, it became less about mysteries and more about sex and gathering power. The books started introducing new villains, and each time Anita defeated them, she stole their power. If they weren't a villain, she made them her lovers, all the while complaining that she didn't have enough emotional spoons to be dating so many people. She also contracts lycanthropy and becomes a panware that doesn't shift. Okay, fine, whatever. What annoys me about this is that Laurel K. Hamilton decided that all of Anita's various hungers feed into each other and to the point that if she skips one meal, she's suddenly either trying to rip someone's throat out and eat them, or rip their clothes off and have sex with them. Little rapey, if you ask me. I get that it's done to help develop tension in the books. I can accept this. I can even accept this since in Cage of Light, out October 3rd. By the way, Kieran is put in a position where he is close to death, and his bloodlust drives him to the point he bites someone in desperation to survive. When done right, these kinds of downsides to power can be a great addition to a story. My issue is that it's a recurring issue for Anita years after she should have control over her abilities. This brings me to my next issue with the series. A book series with 30 books should have some character growth for the main character, but there's none with Anita. Sure, she is super sex positive now, but she's still an angry woman with a huge chip on her shoulder when it comes to human men. This problem has only gotten worse in recent years. In Sucker Punch, there's a whole scene where Anita and another marshal need to question a stripper, and they go to her place of work. But when the bartender, who is the head of security, clearly states that he would fire any of his security guards if they gave one of the girls' info out to someone they didn't know. Anita gets pissed off at this, and it's compounded by the fact that he does state that he's not a fan of the preternatural. She goes into this huge internal monologue about how he's a bigot and that he should have done what they wanted and given them the strippers' info. Of course, they reach the compromise of the man calling the stripper to come and answer some questions, and Anita and the other marshal get lunch while they wait. Remember that mechanic where Anita's hungers feed into each other? Yep, she forgot to eat and ended up vamping out on one of the strippers that's currently working. The head of security notices and kicks them out with a baseball bat, cueing more internal dialogue about how he's such a bigot with no self-reflection about the fact that he caught on to what she was doing way quicker than someone who just hated non-humans because they're not human should have. Anyone with half a brain would have come to the conclusion that he probably had bad experiences with preternatural citizens in the past. But because he's a human man, he's just a bigot, and there's no room for further reflection. This isn't the only instance where Anita just comes off as a hateful bitch. In Smolder, when Richard comes to the rescue and explains, "I got a new therapist, and now I accept that I am bi," Anita and her harem of simps attack him when he opens up about how he feels, that he wasn't there for her as much as he should have been, especially in Ireland when she was kidnapped and Domino died. Though, let's be honest, she gets kidnapped all the damn time, and if you've read the books and don't know who Domino is, don't feel bad. He had very little page time and not much personality past the fact that he was both a black tiger and a white tiger. If that's confusing, don't worry. The Tiger Clans have been having babies for centuries and never even bothered to share that tidbit of how they managed it with any of the other shifters, and have genetic problems because they dabbled in incest. Back to examples of Anita being a hateful bitch to men, move on to Slay, the most recent book in the series, and we get two lovely examples. The first is when Anita is handcuffed because she was going vampy when the police came to the scene after a whack job tried to disfigure Jean-Claude, closeted gay trope in full force there with no subtlety. New safety regulations state that any preternatural that is using their powers is to be cuffed and detained until the preternatural marshal can come on scene and verify that they are indeed safe to release. Cue obligatory cops are useless rant and Anita going into full Karen mode that she is a preternatural marshal and she's telling them that she's not a threat. Oh, and Nikki approaches her in the poor uniform cop because for some reason she's being held on her stomach and her short skirt is flashing everyone. For all of Laurel K. Hamilton's preaching of writers must do hours of research, she sure didn't bother to open up YouTube and watch the hours of police body cam footage posted there. Nikki should have never been allowed near them, and the more experienced cop that uncuffs her with the, "I know her, she's good." You are not a preternatural marshal, and she could be lying to you, you moronic dumbass. You just kissed your career goodbye. But moving on to the next instance, at the hospital, because Wicked and Truth got holy water meant for Jean-Claude, there's a doctor with an experimental treatment that has the potential to heal their acid burns. Cue another Karen rant about, "Where's your research? We'll heal them ourselves." Guess what? Anita can't get it up to sex them with her magic pussy of healing. So not only does she fail, she denies the doctor the chance to try his procedure and get the research he needs so he can, help the little vampires that don't have access to Anita's magic pussy. But let's shelve Laurel K. Hamilton's blatant misandry and move on to her writing style. I am the firm believer that every author puts a bit of themselves into their writing, and this drives their writing style. Over the years, Laurel K. Hamilton has come out as a practicing Wiccan, bisexual, and polyamorous. While these are things about her that I don't really care about because who really gives a shit, she shoves it in your face every chance she gets in her writing. To the point where after the first time I read Smolder, I felt that I had been forced into the center of a circle jerk bukkake about how awesome polyamory, homosexuality, and therapy are. I'm not the straightest, most monogamous person out there, but what the fuck? It's not as bad as PC Cast's Into the Mist and Out of the Dawn books are with their blatant man-hating and Christian-hating, but it's not much better. Smolder and Slay both also introduce plot points that could be fun to follow and explore, but then drop them to be resolved off screen. This tactic makes the books insanely disorganized and chaotic. There are more instances of rookie mistakes in the writing itself that just make it seem like her publishers and editors don't care what she writes. They know her fans will buy it. On page 502 of Sucker Punch, the word said is used 22 times. I know there are many times when you can't avoid using the word said in writing, but Laurel K. Hamilton has 30 years of experience under her belt and editors. Did no one stop and think, maybe we should change this up a little bit? Just a little bit of editing to cut down on the word said would have made that scene not feel so meh. Now, I know I'm not the greatest author out there. I'm nowhere close to the greatness of Robert Jordan or Tolkien. But I know enough to try and not consistently repeat words that's like said that many times on a single page. Even if it's dialogue between multiple people, break it up a bit. Pepper in people doing things between their bits of dialogue. At this point, there's no excuse. Now, I could go on and skim through every book and search for every instance of poor writing and even find the exact point that all of these problems started cropping up. Spoiler, I noticed some in Obsidian Butterfly when I used the free credit to get it on Audible. But the video would end up several hours long, and I'm not Crimson Rogue. If you're watching this, Crim, hi. Totally would fangirl out if you did a 7-hour long video tearing into my book, The Black Butterfly, and pointing out every flaw the way you did for Lightlark and Nightbane. I love the throne, by the way, man. And if you've made it to the end of this video and disagree with me, leave a comment. If you think I'm just an angry wannabe author who has no talent, read my book and prove it. I dare you. For everyone else, thanks for sticking with the video until the end. I appreciate you and hope you give my books a shot. I'll leave the links in the description. And I hope you enjoyed this format of video. It's new. Way lazier than the other one. But I really do hope you like it. And like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And I will definitely try to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye!